By far the biggest problem with meta-analysis is that this shit gets support. Hello and welcome everyone to this series that I don't do that often, which is meta-analysis. So, in the past I've done one for DP and one for Shadow Paladin, and it has been quite a while since I've done them, and obviously in between then and now, both these clans got support, and the way they impact the meta has changed drastically. So I'm going to be basically updating the two old meta-analyses before I start doing new ones. So today we're going to be taking a look at Dimension Police, which has changed drastically. One of the archetypes obviously became a proper one, and next time we're going to be taking a look at Shadow Paladin, and that'll probably be out at around next week. So, getting into today's video, first off we're going to go over some of the more general new cards before we smash into the big horse-sounding cosmic heroes. First off, as we all know, the G-Zone has expanded to 16, and this is a big thing for DP because now X-Tiger gets even more power than before. So this is general for all of DP. X-Tiger is now much better with a 16 G-Zone, so do keep that in mind. I believe he's pretty much a staple at 2, if not, and then up to 3 in some decks, so do keep that in mind. Next up, obviously, G-Guardians are for everyone. We have Newman Patriot, which when you're being attacked with a 20k or more attack, she basically guards for 20k. And X-Caribou, which is when your opponent attacks you with 30k or above, then he gets an additional 10k, so he guards for 25k essentially. So these are some general tidbits that I thought I would just throw in at the very start. And because the last meta-analysis was released right before Fighters Collection Winter, we have not talked about the true legend, Daikaiser Leon. So, for those of you that have not yet been punished by this card, Daikaiser Leon's skill is an act once per turn on GB2. You can countermass 1 and Persona Flip a Daikaiser Leon. If you do, and you have a Kaiser Heart, he gets the skill that when you drive check a grade 3, you can retire one of your opponent's guardians, and the cannot be hit effect, such as of a perfect guard, is nullified. So, usual Daikaiser stuff. This is very good for both Dimensional Robos and for the Sin Kaiser deck. So both the Daikaiser Break Ride with the Sinbuster Legion. So you can basically go into Daikaiser, and then because of the 16 G-Zone, you can actually fit in 4 of these, or 2 if you wish, and basically you just try Daikaiser Leon to pressure your opponent every turn, and then when you Break Ride, you're going to be doing a lot of pressure as well. Now, to add to this pressure is another card that DP got in this Fighters Collection, which is Dai Bazooka. Dai Bazooka has 2 skills, one of which is when it attacks and your Vanguard's a Kaiser, he gets plus 2k until end of that battle, so he's an 11k attacker. And his second skill is, in the trigger zone, when you drive check him, he gets grade plus 1, so he's a grade 3, so he triggers all your Daikaiser effects. And when you drive check it, so not damage check, very important, when you damage check this, he does count as a grade 3, but he does not do the following. So only when you drive check it, you can countercharge 1 and soul charge 1. Very important because the countercharge is good in both Sin Kaiser technically, and Dimensional Robos themselves. And the soul charge helps Dimensional Robos because if you randomly soul charge like one Dimensional Robo that you're missing for a true Daikaiser skill, then this is definitely very good. So it's a very good grade 2 that I see in both Dimensional Robos and in Sin Kaiser. Alright, horse sounds are coming in. And let's take a look at Cosmic Heroes post GBT07. Now I'm immediately going to say, in the description I have my deck profile, which has a lot of depth and a lot of alternative builds, as well as a little explanation / combo video for Cosmic Heroes, so if you have not yet seen it and are interested in the deck, do make sure to check that out, because it explains pretty much everything, but we'll be kind of putting everything together once again, even though I've kind of said everything in the past, but we'll be basically going over all the cards that Cosmic Heroes got. Also, with Cosmic Heroes, they did get a new mechanic, which is Burst, which basically activates, like, it kind of checks for power thresholds on your Vanguard. So, like, it checks for X power to do this, and then it checks for Y power to do that. So, we're going to see a lot of cards now that are good examples of this. Let's begin with the Grade 3, which is the main card of the deck, which is Great Cosmic Hero Grande Gallop. First skill is a GB2. When he attacks the Vanguard and his power is 22k or more, he gets an additional drive check. So he gets a triple drive. This skill used to be more important back before GB207, but now his second skill is much more needed. When you stride on top of him, your Vanguard gets plus 4k, so this is for free. You don't countermass anything. And then the second skill is when you hit the Vanguard with your stride, you can countermass 1 to draw a card. So that part costs a counterblast if you hit. But otherwise, this is a free plus 4k, which is very important, especially if you've watched the explanation video, because it helps you reach the goal of the deck. Some backup grade 3s that you can run from Cosmic Heroes, one of which is Great Cosmic Hero Grand Mantle. This one is the when you ride the count +1, soul +1, look at top 5 for a burst, and put it into your hand. You don't really use that skill. More often you'll be using the first one. So his first skill, which is much more used, is a once per turn GB1. You can count +1, and if your Vanguard's 15k or more, he gets +4. And then if your Vanguard's for 35k or more, he gives your Vanguard +4. The other backup grade 3, which I also quite like, and I would see it as a 1 or 2 of in a Cosmic Hero deck, is Grand Guardi. So his first skill is, it's a continuous burst, so on GB1, no matter when in the turn, if his power is 20k or more, he gets the skill that when you drive check a grade 3, you countercharge 1, soul charge 1, and if his power is 30k or more, all rearguards in your front row get plus 4k. So even if you get to 20 or 30k during the drive check, so like if you give him triggers to get to that power, those effects will activate. So this, I like him because he can be a good ride after you've burned out all your strides. And that does happen against some matchups like Kagero where the game is going for ages. His second skill is not that important. It's count +4, soul +6. He gets plus 10k and additional 2 drive checks, so he drive checks 4. Or if you can do it twice, if you can activate the skill twice, which you can with a particular card, you can get up to 6 drive checks. So you won't really be using that in this deck, but you know, just thought I'd mention that. Next up, let's look at the strides. The first of which is obviously Super Cosmic Hero x-gallop. He has a burst skill. When he attacks, if his power is 35k or more, you can count +1 and choose any G and flip it face up. If you do, he gets an additional drive check, so he drive checks 4 times, and if his power is 40k or more, then all your front row rear guards get plus 4k each for each face up x-gallop in your G-zone. So if you have 1 face up, you'll be giving 4k to your rear guards, to your front row rear guards. If you have 2 face up, then you'll be giving 8k, and if you have 3 face up, then you'll be giving 12k. Pretty standard, good pushing power. He also helps your hand a lot. You do not run Laurel in this deck. I'll repeat this for the nth time, because attacking with this twice will get out 8 cards. Yes, that's nice, but you're going to deck out so fast. This deck decks out no matter either way without Laurel, so please, I'm going to say it again, do not play Laurel. Some other helpful strides are, well, one of which is Super Cosmic Hero X Phoenix. He has a skill that goes really well with Grand Gallop's on-stride skill, so if you remember, when you stride on Gallop and you hit, you can count +1 to draw a card. Now, X Phoenix is, at the end of the battle that he attacked the Vanguard, if his power is 35k or more, and the attack did not hit, you can count +1 to draw a card. So, the situation you put your opponent into is that you can attack, and then, if you hit, you count +1 to draw a card. If you don't hit, you count +1 to draw a card. So, you're basically going to be making advantage no matter what. This can be a good first stride when you want to kind of get back an advantage. If you got rushed or something, you had to stay on the defensive, then this can definitely be a very nice stride. I recommend him at 1 or 2 in the Cosmic Hero G-Zone. Now, X-Tiger we already mentioned at the start, so I don't think it's worth explicitly mentioning him now. So, let's move on to the grade 2s. The first of which is Cosmic Hero Grand Volver. Important part is that he has resist, so this is really good against Kagero. It can actually, like, just this one pesky unit is really good against Kagero, because if you stack huge amounts of power on him, they cannot deny Griffin it, which is very important. So his other skill is also quite nice. It's a burst act on rearguard. It's once per turn, you can count +1. If your Vanguard's power is 15k or more, you can choose one of your other rearguards. That rearguard and Grand Volver both get plus 4k each. And if your Vanguard's power is 30k or more, then until end of turn, Grand Volver gets the skill that when his attack hits, you can countercharge 2. So essentially, you're only countercharging 1 because you paid 1 counterblast to activate the skill, but it's a very good pressure unit, so you don't have to stack crits on him, because just him being able to countercharge for you is going to be very threatening to your opponent. Definitely a good card, and I see this as a 4 of in Cosmic Heroes. Next up, we have Grande Rift Er, which is the Glimmer clone of the deck. So when you call him, you can count +1 soul stun on GB1 if you have a Gallop Vanguard. Then he gets plus 4k and your Vanguard gets plus 4k, and your Vanguard gets the skill that when it attacks the Vanguard, if its power is 40k or more, you draw a card. Very good, because most of the time you will be attacking with 40k or more, so getting some easy hand advantage is definitely worth it, and this can help the consistency of the deck as well, so I see this as well as a 4 of. We'll be revisiting a couple of old cards, and the first of which is obviously Cosmic Hero Grand Sub. He's really good because of a grade 1 we're going to get into, and also because of Grand Volver, because if you use Grand Volver's skill on him, then he's going to proc. So his skill is when his power is increased due to an effect of one of your cards, including triggers. If it's 30k or more, 13k or more, then you give your Vanguard plus 4k, and the on hit, your opponent chooses to retire skill. So you activate Grand Volver, give 4k to himself and to Grand Sub, and then Grand Sub's effect activates to give 4k to the Vanguard and the on hit retire skill. So very good, and I see this as the final grade 2, and the grade 2 that we don't play is Cosmic Hero Grand Fire. The reason why I don't recommend Grand Fire is because now you more often attack with the Vanguard first, because you want to buff up the front row before they attack. So the reason Grand Fire is not that good is because it has to attack and then be boosted to counterblast 1 and give 2 things plus 4k. And it's better to play Grande Rift Er because, you know, that way he can be standing and use his skill, while Grand Fire has to be rested, and that way you lose out on X-Gallop's Power Addition. Next up is one of my favorite grade 1s of the deck, Cosmic Hero Grand Lady. Her skill is you can rest her, you give your Vanguard plus 4k, and if your Vanguard has the burst ability, you give one of your other rearguards plus 4k. This also works with Grand Sub, so you can give the 4k to the Grand Sub, and it's going to give it to the Vanguard as well. So out of resting her, you get 8k on the Vanguard and 4k on a rearguard. So really good because she also combines with some other cards like Grand Chopper, and Grand Chopper's skill is similar to Grand Sub when its power is increased. If it's 11k or more, then you can counterblast 1 and give 2 units plus 4k. So you can also give it to Grand Sub, who will give it to the Vanguard, or you can give it just straight to the Vanguard. Like, it's generally, the Grand Lady starts a lot of your combos, and that's why I like her a lot. Another great one you could play is Cosmic Hero Grand Vickle. When you call it, if your Vanguard's 15k or more, he gets plus 4k, and if your Vanguard's 30k or more and you have a Gallop Vanguard, the Vanguard will get plus 4k. So with X-Tiger, you make an immediate 45. You immediately make 45 because when you strike X-Tiger on Gallop, he goes up to 30, and this essentially is a 15k with all the buffs if you call it behind X-Tiger, so then you hit 45 immediately and you can have a crit on the first attack without any counterblast, so that's kind of the good part of him. There are some builds that can use him pretty well, but I'm not the biggest fan, but I obviously thought that I should mention it. We're not going to go over the Perfect Guard G, but we will go over the special Perfect Guard, which is Cosmic Hero Grand Leaf. So his special skill is when he has a burst skill on rearguard once per turn, you can Soul Blast 1. If your Vanguard's 30k or more until end of turn, he gets the skill that at the end of turn he gets returned to hand. And if your Vanguard's 35k or more, he gets plus 4k, so he's a 10k booster or attacker. Very good because you can buff him up and then basically he can become huge only to go back to your hand later. But be careful that Kagero can Denial Griffin and Defeat Flare him, and I've actually been in that situation where I called him to the back and my opponent Defeat Flared him, and then I couldn't put him back to hand, so I basically lost the Perfect Guard for nothing, so do keep that in mind. Finally, let's go over to the grade zeros. We're going to start off with a brand new starter, which is Cosmic Hero Grand Hop, and I believe this is the best starter for Cosmic Heroes. So, her Grand Hop skill is an act on GB1, you can rest him, and if your Vanguard's power is 25k or more, you can give one of your units plus 4k, and if your Vanguard's 35k or more power, then you can put him in the soul to draw a card and countercharge 1. Really good because the deck really needs countercharge, and the draw card is also really nice early advantage. Some people play even more than one of him, and I think that's actually justified, but because you don't really have a way to search it out, I'm not sure if it's that needed. But very, very good start, and I think it's probably the best one for Cosmic Heroes. As most of you know, there's Cosmic Hero Grand Beat, which is the special Gallop crit, and it's very good because it helps to add to the power thresholds. We also have the old stand trigger Reika, who puts herself back to the deck, gives you Vanguard plus 4k, and if you attack with 37k or more, you can draw a card. So again, helps to add to the power thresholds. And finally, we have Cosmic Hero Grand Skull, which is a brand new stand trigger. You can put him in the soul on GB1 and give your Vanguard plus 4k, and if your Vanguard's power is 30k or more, you give another plus 4k to the Vanguard. So when you're striding, it's mostly going to be 8 plus 8k, so it's a nice way to, like, if you're really, there's no way for you to finish off that power threshold, this is a really good card to go into. So that actually wraps it up for this 2.0 meta-analysis. So it actually ended up being rather long, but I did want to cover everything. Dimensional Police probably won't get any more support until, well, Fighter Selection obviously, but other than that I don't think it's going to get any main set support until next year. So I think we'll be fine for a while before we need to do the 3.0. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.